Hey everybody, Crypto Stu again, and in this video we're going to be looking at trend lines. So trend lines act in a similar way to support and resistance. Obviously, support and resistance levels that we covered in the last video are horizontal lines of support and resistance on your chart, whereas a trend line will be at an angle following the trend of the asset that you're looking at. So once again, we're looking at BTC USD here on a daily chart. And if price is moving up, then the trend line should be drawn on the underside, okay, like so. And if price is moving down, then the trend line should be drawn on the upper part of the chart. Now, just like with support and resistance levels, trend lines are subjective. Different people will draw them in different ways. And I think that they're probably even more subjective than horizontal support and resistance. As a result, I tend to use trend lines more as a bit of a roadmap rather than specifically for my trading entries. And just like we've mentioned a few times already, looking for various different levels of confluence. So if we can see the price touching a trend line at the same or around the same price as a support and resistance level, and I can illustrate that here. So we had, let me just change this ever so slightly. So we had this level of support. Price was over here. We had this trend line drawing, and you can see that when price retraced down back into the trend line, it was also retracing into this support zone. So that is an example of confluence of a couple of different things pointing us to the same conclusion that price could well bounce from this level here. In terms of actually drawing your trend lines, you need at least two points to start a trend line. So uh, here, for example, but it's really not validated until you get a third point or a third touch, in which case that trend line would be considered a valid trend line. And once again, you're going to find that you are in this downtrend example here. It's not exact. Sometimes it'll be on the wicks, sometimes it'll be on the candle open and closes. When I'm drawing these, I look for what looks to be the best fit, if you like, where I'm getting the most touches. So if I was drawing this downtrend here, this is probably how I would draw it. We had wick, wick, open and close with a few wick rejections, a wick rejection here and a wick rejection there. So we're looking for many touches, and if we're in a downtrend, our trend line gets drawn on the highs, and if we're in an uptrend, our trend line gets drawn on the lows. And so we could look at potentially, if we're just looking at this recent price action, another sort of trend line that we can draw in here. Maybe we extend it? No, that see once we go there, it kind of breaks the trend line. That doesn't look valid. There's too much movement through the trend line, and so that although we broke through and closed below this line here, I still feel that that's certainly valid enough for me to draw that trend line in there. But what you'll notice is that it can result in quite a big difference in where you're expecting price to react in the future. So with these two different trend lines that we've drawn, we've got, we might expect a reaction here, but it could also be here. So it's subjective, and I view them more just to help me visualize in what direction the trend is moving. And you can start to see areas of consolidation as well. In this example here, although we're in a downtrend and technically in this area here, I would maybe also be looking to draw a line in round the lows, because this seems to have been uh, respected to an extent anyway. And we can see that we're in a kind of a channel moving downwards, or a downward range. So it can be useful not only for looking at areas to enter your trade, but also for looking at areas where you might want to take profit. So if we entered up here in a short position, then based on this lower kind of channel trend line, a sensible target would have been round about here. So they can be used for profit taking as well if you're drawing it on the lows on a downtrend, or on the highs on an uptrend. So I think that's all I wanted to share in terms of trend lines. In the next video, we'll have a look into market structures. Speak to you soon.